Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Um, I'm here to give you a little bit of background information about how to conduct your interview with your mentor. Now, I know for those of you who are in Puente this year and didn't have any classes with me beforehand, you've already done an interview with your Puente mentor. If that is the case, just like the assignment sheet says, I'd like you to find somebody that you can interview who is in one of the career fields you're looking into. It could be a family member or a friend of a friend or somebody you work with. Um, but again, this is all about increasing not only that academic network, but also that professional network. And I've also had some questions about what's the best way to interview or what is the most productive medium to interview. And I'll be super honest, in a perfect world, we'd be face to face and talking eye to eye in the same room. That's not really possible right now, and that's okay. But I strongly recommend it being a video meeting through Zoom or through Skype or through FaceTime or whatever particular kind of meeting application that you use. And again, that's because the more immediate it is, the more honest the response you're going to get from your interviewee, and the more raw it's going to be. The more likely it's going to be to kind of catch from your interviewee information that maybe they didn't think they were going to give to you, and that's always nice. And again, I know a lot of you have seen this already, but again, I'll remind you of this quote. What first comes out of an interview are tons of ore. You have to get that gold dust in your hands. Now, how does it become a necklace or a ring or a gold watch? You have to get the form. You have to mold the gold dust. So when we do that interview, we're going to be doing a lot of digging. That's just the nature of the beast. And the questions are what move the shovel, right? And some kinds of questions are more fruitful and more effective than others. And I'm here to remind you about some of those. Remember, you're acting like a journalist here. You've got 6 question words: who, what, where, when, why, how. And these question words can help you come up with how you're going to approach your interview. Now, remember, if you're interviewing your mentor, it's going to be about their academic and professional journey. If you're interviewing somebody in a career field, it's got to be at least about their professional journey. How did they end up getting the job that they have? Now, if you want to go back further and start with, how they did in school and what their academic pathway was to lead to that professional field, that's totally awesome too. You've got lots of different ways to write this, and I want it to be something that, you know, guides you towards more information and more enthusiasm. What else do I want to say about these? So you've got these. I mean, if you were to go in starting with your 6 question words, maybe 2 per question word, you're going to be in a good place. Who inspired you to get into this field? Who were your mentors growing up? What made you get interested in the field? What classes did you need to take? Where did you study? Where did you decide to work? When did you know that you wanted to be whatever you are? Why did you decide to get into the field that you got? How did you feel when you finally got your degree or got that first position in your field? Feel free to steal those. I don't care. Remember, these are questions just help get the ball rolling. Your interviewees are going to want to talk about themselves, so give them an opportunity. Just roll, 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 roll. So open questions are really important. They require reflection and personal evaluation, and they draw on deep personal experience. What is your opinion of, psychologists versus psychiatrists, maybe? How did you react when you didn't get your first job choice as a high school counselor. Okay. Also, what brings you the most happiness in your field today? What brings you the most frustration? What brings you the most confusion? They're also closed questions, and these are really factual questions. They almost feel like, you're a detective just trying to get the facts. And they do encourage that fact-related response. So, who is involved in the process of becoming an elementary teacher? Um, when do you get the most interaction with people when you're on patrol? What steps are necessary to become a certified public accountant? Now, notice when you ask these kinds of questions, people are just going to rattle off things that almost feel like stats, just raw, cold information. And that's fine, though. That's really good. And this what is the difference question is also a good one. Now, some questions are problematic, and you guys probably recognize this one. Do boot camp style prisons increase self-discipline or resentment in the inmates? Now notice there, when you give them one thing or another thing, you're forcing them to choose between two things, and you're kind of shutting down their brain. All they got to do is like close their eyes and go like this or flip coin. So what it will be better for you to do is to take the question out, take the choices out of it, and let there be follow-up questions. What changes occur in inmates of boot camp style prisons? Notice that person then has to think about what the answers are. You're not giving them A or B, one or two, heads or tails. But then if you really have specific subjects you want them to talk about, make them follow-up questions. How does their self-discipline change? Does the resentment change as well? Also is the leading question. A leading question is like a forced choice question, but it's even tighter and more constraining. Notice this question. Again, it's about like boot camp style prisons. Ugh, such a depressing topic. I think I need to rewrite this. Do you think boot camp style prisons are a reaction against the lack of discipline in American society? Notice this is a yes or no question. Your interviewee could just be spacing out and just say like, oh yeah, or no, and then that's it. They assume that answer already and they limit that response. Instead, break it into smaller questions. Advise them to make assumptions clear. Look at this now. Some people believe that boot camp style prisons are a reaction against the lack of discipline in American society. Do you think this is accurate? Now notice that person can still say yes or no, but then you can still follow up and say what other factors are involved. What are some of the other reactions? What are they also a reaction to? Would make more sense. And finally, the coup de grace interview question. I know it looks like Coop De Gracie, but this means the finishing blow. If you ever watch old Bugs Bunny cartoons, you'll see Bugs Bunny in the ring, like with Yosemite Sam. And, you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going in for the Coop De Gracie. But, all you need to know, it's the one you want to save to the end. What is the weirdest thing that ever happened to you related to going to college in psychology, or becoming a chemist, or working as highway patrol? These questions are really great because you get some awesome answers behind them. But you got to save this to the very end. If you say this in the beginning, your interviewee is not warmed up yet. You need to like slide it in after they're loose and they're talking and they're already telling you more than they thought they were ever going to tell you. Boom, there it comes. So make sure you save it for then. I believe we are right at the end here. I suggest you free-write at least 2 questions for each of the 6 question words before going into your interview. Again, doing it through a face-by-face communication medium like Skype or Zoom or Cranium Cafe. It's probably the best way of doing it. But, of course, there are other options. Be flexible. We're still you're not meeting face to face. So I want you not to see things as obstructions. And I want you to feel free to come and talk to me at any of my advice hours, or to make an appointment with me if you can't make my regular advice hours. Remember, your mentors are there because they volunteered to help you. They were in your place once upon a time, and they want to tell their story. And speaking of, you can talk about it in question form like it's a story. What was the beginning of college like for you? What were your huge struggles in college? What was the toughest point in college? What is the best takeaway you got from graduating college? And then you could repeat those narrative questions for their career too. What was it like when you began your career? How did you feel getting more experience in your career? What has been the most exciting or challenging thing about your career? What have you taken away from everything you learned from your career? What would you tell other people as a reflection now that you've been in your career for the amount of time that you've had? So anyway, there's no real right or wrong way to ask questions. And like I said before, writing down questions ahead of time will be super helpful because they'll give you a way to move forward. But feel free to freestyle along the way. Sometimes your interviewee is going to say something that you never even thought of. And you know what? If it's interesting you, take that ball and run with it. Follow up, ask them more questions, ask them for clarification on that particular subject. Keep riding that pony or that wave or whatever riding metaphor you want to use. I had one more thing I was going to say about this, and it was also, you can take notes while you're doing this, but I strongly suggest you just put on your voice recorder or somehow record the video of your meeting. That way you're not scribbling away. That way you can have eye-to-eye contact and not worry about missing anything. Because the more face-to-face contact you can have with your interviewee, the more comfortable they're going to be, the more they're going to want to keep moving and talking with you. And it should be really fun. I mean, I know all of these mentors. They're great people. And they're super excited to be able to work with you this semester. For those of you who celebrated Easter yesterday, I hope you had a very safe and restful holiday. For those who didn't, I still hope you had a wonderful weekend. And if you've got any questions, once again, don't feel shy about talking to me. Give me a text, give me an email, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care, Puentistas. Bye-bye.